On October 10th, 2018, Cristiano Ronaldo finally broke his silence via his lawyer, Peter Christiansen, in a relatively short statement that mainly covered two things: an acknowledgement of the signing of the agreement between Ronaldo and Mayorga from 2010, how Der Spiegel came to acquire the documents, while also denying that the encounter between Ronaldo and Mayorga was non-consensual. Since that statement was released yesterday, Christoph Winterbach of Der Spiegel spoke out in response, so I'll be sure to update you on what he had to say regarding the press release from Christiansen and Ronaldo at the end of this. I have linked both the press release from Ronaldo's lawyer and the statements from Christoph Winterbach in the description of this video if you want to check them out for yourself. Now, I wish that I had more than a 1 minute-ish press release from Ronaldo's side to work with, but we have to remember, guys, he is innocent until proven guilty. It's not on him to prove that he is innocent. Regarding the civil suit, it is on Mayorga's side to prove that he is guilty, thus the onus of proof lies on her side, not his. That's why we haven't heard much from him. And regarding the case that has been reopened by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, they are still in the process of determining if there is enough evidence to go forward with a criminal investigation. And finally, once again, I am not going to inject my opinion in here at all. Sometimes I will clarify things for you, but I'll be sure to make it clear that I'm doing just that, and will only do it to add context so you know what Christiansen and Ronaldo are referring to in their statement. Again, like I did in the last video, so you knew it wasn't my words, prepare yourself for me to be saying quote and allegedly a lot. But anyways, let's get started with the press release. It starts with Christiansen saying, quote, "I have been hired to represent Cristiano Ronaldo with respect to the recent civil complaint arising from events alleged to have occurred in 2009, all of which were the subject of a mutual release between the parties in 2010. Given the breach of that agreement by the other side and the inflammatory accusations that have been lodged in the ensuing days as a result, Mr. Ronaldo feels compelled to no longer stand silent." So, now we're back to me. Right off the bat, Christiansen confirms that there was in fact a mutual agreement between Ronaldo and Mayorga, which Mayorga's side had breached by going public via their interview with Der Spiegel. Now, and this is still me speaking, just to remind you of what Mayorga said regarding the agreements, she claims, remember, she claims, this is not me, that she was coerced into signing a $375,000 non-disclosure agreement in which she was never to bring up the incident again, and that it even limited her from mentioning Ronaldo's name when speaking about the incident with her family and her therapist. That's what Mayorga claims. Okay, now back to the press release, as Christiansen spoke more about the agreement, saying, quote, "While Mr. Ronaldo does not deny the existence of the mutual agreement and release, his motivations for agreeing to that resolution have been twisted, to say the least. Far from any admission of guilt or any ulterior motive, Mr. Ronaldo was advised to privately resolve the allegations against him in order to avoid the inevitable attempts that are now being made to destroy a reputation that has been built upon hard work, athleticism, and honor." Okay, so I'm sure you understood that part already, but just to confirm the basics from what Christiansen said once again. 1. Ronaldo doesn't deny that there was a mutual agreement between himself and Mayorga. 2. Christiansen says that the reasons for the agreement to be in place have been manipulated. It shouldn't be considered an admission of guilt by Ronaldo. And 3. Ronaldo was advised to sign the agreement by his legal team as opposed to going through a civil lawsuit, which Christiansen claims would have inevitably led to the same sort of character assassination that he is facing now. Basically, he wasn't trying to hide guilt because he claims that there is none to hide, and he was trying to avoid having his name dragged through the mud in public. Remember, he had just secured a move to Real Madrid, or it was in the process of being secured. Furthermore, and this is an aside, so take from it what you will, but one of the biggest aspects that cast doubt in people's minds regarding the documents was the actual signature itself and title used on the documents. Ronaldo's name was listed simply as Cristiano Ronaldo instead of Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro. And comparing his signature on the documents to the signature he uses to autograph memorabilia, etc., there's a massive difference. However, as I speculated with some of you in the comments, I guess that he has an autograph signature as well as a legal signature, considering that his lawyer has confirmed that he did indeed sign the agreement between himself and Mayorga, or at least he signed the side contract agreement and gave his attorney power of attorney. So that pretty much covers the agreement side of things. The other big topic that Christiansen covered was the documents themselves and how they came to be acquired by, quote, one media outlet, as Christiansen puts it. So Christiansen says, quote, The documents which purportedly contain statements by Mr. Ronaldo and have been reported in the media are complete fabrications. It is my understanding that in 2015, dozens of entities, including law firms across many different industries throughout Europe, were hacked and their electronic data was stolen and captured by a cybercriminal. So, what fabrications are being referred to in particular? Well, the key words here are, quote, which purportedly contain statements by Mr. Ronaldo. Given that he has already confirmed that the signing of the agreement is real and that an agreement would never be referred to as a statement, Christiansen is likely speaking of the alleged questionnaires that featured heavily in the Der Spiegel article. Just to jog your memory, and you'll want to count the amount of times I say alleged here, part of the alleged evidence that Der Spiegel has, there were alleged questionnaires that contained hundreds of questions for Ronaldo that was allegedly given to him by his defense in order to get an idea of what transpired. There are allegedly many versions of these questionnaires, and while the questions remain the same, according to Der Spiegel, the answers vary. In some earlier versions, it is alleged that Ronaldo said that Mayorga said no several times, but he continued anyway, while allegedly, later versions claim that it was 100% consensual. Alright, let's continue with Christiansen's statement as he went on to say, quote, this hacker attempted to sell this data, and one media outlet has now irresponsibly published the stolen documents, significant portions of which were altered and/or completely fabricated. To absolve any doubt, Mr. Ronaldo has always maintained, as he does today, that what occurred in 2009 in Las Vegas was consensual in nature. So this part of the statement is pretty self-explanatory. When Christiansen says, quote, one outlet, I think you can figure out who he's referring to in regards to an outlet that published some of the documents. Now, in this statement, he both confirms that some documents are real but have been altered, while also saying that some are fabricated, which, as I said before, is likely in reference to the questionnaires that featured heavily in the Der Spiegel article. And of course, at the end of the paragraph, Christiansen reiterates that Ronaldo stands by his assertion that everything that happened between himself and Mayorga was completely consensual. And finally, to conclude the statement, and I don't think you'll need a breakdown from me on this one, Christiansen says that, quote, while Mr. Ronaldo is accustomed to being the subject of press attention that goes along with being famous, it is absolutely deplorable that a media outlet would support or advance such an elaborate and deliberate defamation campaign based on stolen, easily manipulated digital documents. Mr. Ronaldo will leave future discussions of any and all legal matters to his attorneys here and in Europe. He is confident that the truth will survive this frenzy and the laws of Nevada will be upheld and enforced. And that was that from Ronaldo and his lawyer. Now, what did Der Spiegel editor Christoph Winterbach have to say on the matter? Let's get to that now, as he spoke with CNN following the release from Christiansen and Ronaldo, but this morning, October 11th, 2018, he made a statement via his Twitter feed once again, which I will of course link to in the description. And by the way, since he's responding directly to things I just informed you about, I don't think I'll need to break things down for you, but if I do, I'll be sure to make it obvious that it is no longer Winterbach speaking, and it's now myself, simply giving context. Here we go. Quote, we've seen this before. The statement presents the usual path that Mr. Ronaldo and his lawyers have taken in the past when unsuccessfully fighting our investigative work. Our story is carefully researched. We have hundreds of documents from different sources that substantiate our reporting. We have no reason to believe that those documents are not authentic. Furthermore, as always, and before publishing every single article in Der Spiegel, we have meticulously fact-checked our information and had it legally reviewed. We are therefore confident with the sources that we base our story upon. We stand by our reporting. Doubting our documents seems to be their preferred strategy. When we published an article about the settlement agreement between Mayorga and Ronaldo in 2017, his advisors first called it journalistic fiction. Now, Cristiano admits that he agreed to that settlement. When we reported about Mr. Ronaldo's tax fraud, his lawyers first claimed that the information from our documents were unreliable. CR7 denied that he had committed any tax fraud, but by now, he admitted his guilt and paid money back to the Spanish state. Okay, quick aside here from me, not Winterbach. What Winterbach is talking about here, regarding the Spanish state tax stuff, is the story also from this year where Ronaldo accepted a deal with the Spanish tax authority in which he would repay them 18.8 million euros as a fine in relation to his tax evasion. Initially, when the story broke out, Ronaldo and his lawyers denied the charges, but then made a deal with the tax authority. Typically, you would go to jail for this amount of tax fraud, but given that it was his first offense and it was a sentence of 2 years, in Spain, any sentence of 2 years or less can be served via probation and with the paying of a fine. You have probably heard about this happening with many players in Spain, including Lionel Messi for one, Marcelo, etc. Okay, back to Winterbach. Quote, "Before publishing our story about the rape accusations, we gave Mr. Ronaldo and his lawyers the opportunity to respond to the allegations. They could have disputed the facts that we presented to them. They did not do that. Instead, they chose to have a media lawyer threaten us. He claimed that we infringed Ronaldo's personal rights and announced that he would sue us if we went ahead with the publication. So far, we have not received anything in this regard. We will continue to cover the story. Only Mayorga and Ronaldo know the truth about the incident. It's not our job to judge, we only report. We tell both sides of the story. The responsible authorities will determine the following steps. So far, of course the presumption of innocence applies to Ronaldo." And that's basically it. I just want to reiterate what Winterbach said in that last paragraph though. It's not our job to judge. It's not mine, or yours, or anyone's. That lies solely with the authorities. Like I said, I've linked to the Twitter thread from Christoph Winterbach if you want to read it for yourself. All the same, I've linked to the press release from Ronaldo's lawyer as well. It is in Portuguese, however, so you'll have to use Google Translate or something if you don't speak the language. Regardless, that's where things stand as of now. The investigation is ongoing, and Ronaldo is innocent unless proven otherwise. If there are more updates from either side, then I will be sure to keep you informed, so check back once in a while or subscribe if you so choose. Once again, I'm Adrian. Take care.